dabbing and everything.
Yeah, okay. Well, they all dab. Hi, everybody. I'm Zoop. My mom calls me Supriya. You can find me as Zoop Machine. I am co-GM on Game Master Monday, and we are here for our Demigods Q&A, our most recent mini series. And I will have all of my players introduce themselves, starting with Abby.
Oh my god, you gotta do little me? Well, yeah, I'm Abby. Right now, I'm really sick. I don't know if you could tell. I'm saving you all from the view of my very diseased face and my mucus. But I was Euro Mitchell, the demigoddess of comfort foods, with Shanayaje, my very fantastical raccoon companion, and Zoop is amazing. That's me. Yeah.
Abby's under
Quickly
death
moving
bed.
on to Diamond.
Hi, I'm Metis Diamond, but since we're friends now, you can call me Diamond. I use they, she pronouns, they because it's correct, she because I refuse to correct my mother more than once, and I played Levi Jopi. He uses any all pronouns and was the demigod of Adrenaline Rush.
I believe next we go to Grant.
Yo, I'm the guy who's usually doing Zoop's job. Hi, I'm Grant. I do this. My pronouns are he, him. I played Thane Fontaine, whose pronouns are also he, him. I don't have a cool story for why my pronouns are. I just came out like this.
Okay, he's hard to see. I'm looking in the distance. Is that a plane? Is that Superman? No, it's Kendo.
Hey everybody, my name is Kendrick or Kendo, whichever you prefer. And that was harder than it looked. My arms.
I was wondering.
It hurts so bad, actually. And I had the pleasure of playing Opportunity, Demigod of Opportunity, who was also the trickster. I use any and all pronouns, and so does Opportunity. I don't have a fun reason for why mine is, but Opportunity is that because they look like anyone and can have any. They're very fluid, very gender fluid.
Putting away all of my Alien on Opportunity fan fiction, and
Why?
moving on to Northern Ali.
Email
In
me.
the Fujoshi throne.
You're muted.
Hi, my name is Muted. I'm muted, and my pronouns are also muted. It's a great day. I'm Nornali Kadir. My pronouns are he, him. The reason why? Well, I was assigned them at birth, but then I dropped them, and they got all real dusty, and then I picked them up, and I'm like, actually, you know what? This does sound right. And then I put them back on my shirt. So, that's my pronouns. But I played... Oh shoot! I've forgotten their name.
Ruhan?
That's
Ruhan.
Ruhan. I played Ruhan Rafiq, the demigod of your dreams and also of your death. And he / she / they / really any pronouns, because mostly Ruhan is what you make of them. You know, death is what you make of it. It's like life in that way. Yeah, that's me. Zoop. Take us
All
away.
right. Let us ask some questions. Okay, we will ask this question. We're going to go pretty quickly because everyone's going to deny it. But were you always so pretty and smart, or did it come later?
I got pretty and smart when I turned 16.
Perfect. Diamond?
No, there was a thing with a mosh pit and a crowd killer, and like.
Okay, amazing.
It
Norden?
just happens to you.
I was always smart. The whole liking-ish my looks once in a while thing came up after I stopped really worrying about how much of a man I could be and started being the man who I am.
Ooh, nice. Okay, Abby.
Why did I go first?
I'm so sorry. I was taking cold syrup. Could you ask that question again?
Were
The answer
you
for Abby is
always
yes.
were you always so pretty and smart, or did it come later?
You can't ask me that kind of stuff. Oh my god. Allegedly, I kind of started accepting it. I'm still working on it, but I'm getting
Okay.
there.
Perfect. I'm so proud of you, Kendo.
I'm so proud of you.
There's too much niceness coming from that
I
square.
love cold medicine, Abby.
Cold medicine Abby is
So
great.
if you get 20% more Abby.
Yeah. I plead the fifth.
Oh no. Everybody else answered it.
Excuse me, what happened to my constitutional rights? Okay, I thought this was a democracy.
I'm sorry.
USA.
Do I look?
I thought this was a democracy. Come on, what happened to my voice?
Okay, so the answer, because so the answer is yes. Kendo was always.
Yeah, always.
Okay. So I think the first question that I'm going to ask all of my players is this is a mix of a couple different questions, a bunch of different people who are asking things. So inspiration for your demigod, if media, stories, like what led you to the demigod that you chose and you embodied? We'll start with Diamond.
Once upon a time, there was a ship post about me playing a demigod of fan fiction. And then that didn't happen, and so I made Levy instead.
Yeah,
because I wanted to make a Say
what happened
Levy
to that
joke.
one?
Say more.
I told all of you about that one. You're just like,
that's
you
right.
should have made that one. Yeah, no.
And then we just had the same reaction.
Yes. But I wanted to make a Say Levy joke.
It's so good. It's so good.
And then adrenaline rush, because like thyroids are weird and it can just dump adrenaline into your body and you become a superhero for like 10 minutes. Or get a heart condition.
Is that like a recent interest? Is that like what made you so interested in adrenaline rushes?
And thyroids.
Chronically ill? And my thyroid dumps adrenaline and gives me panic attacks at any moment. I get a little bit too stressed out. And it's caused me to have a minor heart condition because of it.
So do you find like Levy is like kind of a fight to that, like a feeling of getting to control that?
No, Levy that was just an inspiration line. Levy turned into like, it's the I'll hold your hand through it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the like the need for like companionship in something, which is usually where sometimes like having a higher being in front of you comes from.
Yeah.
Or you've done something very funky and you're having a moment. But in storytelling, at least, having a higher being in front of you is usually like a thing of companionship. Like they've reached out to you for a reason. So it's the purposefulness of Levy, of like anybody can take a rush, but Levy even says in that first episode, it's like, oh, I was supposed to go with somebody who was going to go do their first like roller derby bout. Well, they don't need me anymore, so I guess I have a night off now. It's like you can choose in that moment that you want companionship, you want somebody to hold your hand doing something risky, and then you can decide, actually, I'm going to do it my damn self. And Levy is just kind of that embodiment of, I'm here if you need me, say my name and I'll appear, but if you decide that you want to do it on your own, I'm still going to cheer you on. So
I love
that. I thought Adrenaline Rush was really fun. Exactly.
Kendo.
Where did the idea for opportunity come from? I think primarily I was most interested in playing or exploring a like domain that isn't explicit. I was most interested in playing a domain that bended towards chaos, and is ultimately very neutral. There is, especially because we were doing like American demigods and trying to think about all the ways in which American, like what does American culture like value, right? To such a degree in which like a demigod would come from it, right? That like such a concept that like enough people would have a feeling about what this is or like what it was, that there would be a manifestation of it. And then trying to play that as like honestly as possible, as far as like opportunity is a term to opportunity just in general, like as a concept, is about perspective, right? Anything can be an opportunity, right? And so there was an interest in me in playing a character who saw opportunity in everything, and but also was ultimately a selfish person, right? Opportunity doesn't care for other people. Opportunity cares about whatever is most interesting to them in that particular moment, which can be things that are fun. It could be things that are scary. It can be things that are annoying. It could be like whatever. And trying to see what that would look like in a story that was ultimately about people trying to pull together. What does it mean to play someone who is, by their core, unabashedly selfish and not a good person? And what does it look like? What would be the reason for that kind of person to choose to be a part of a group? And the answer of that, yeah, because it was fun.
I love that. I love that. Abby.
It's really cool. First of all, y'all are really cool. I'm just happy to be here. But that kind of fed into like why I wanted to be a god of comfort food, you know? Like you have all these really big, encompassing concepts like life, the edge of death, these things. And I'm like, but what about like something I do daily? I eat food that makes me feel good, that makes me feel happy, that I encounter in my daily life that has been passed down from generation to generation. If that's what gods are, memories and people practicing and following them for years and years and years, why not start as simple as food that brings you life, joy? I think that's a little deserving of attention. But that was just me. I don't know. I'm so high in cough syrup. Maybe I'll retract that statement later. Who knows?
I don't know. I think it was beautiful.
It's a good
I
statement.
think you're beautiful. There.
Oh God, it's just every time it's starting to get scary to talk to Abby. Norton Ali.
There's 3 different layers to him. And the reason why I refer to them as him is because in my mind that's like Ruhan would greet me as a man, right? Not necessarily for everyone. There's 3 layers. One was I was pitched, hey, do you know that show American Gods? What if it was different? And I was like, oh, my favorite moment in American Gods is still when Anubis shows up and takes that woman to the afterlife. So clearly I'm doing some level of that. That's still my favorite thing. I would play a version of this character every day of my life if I could. Really fun. The other thing is that I know, so I have, despite the fact, trigger alert, suicide attempts in my backstory, like my personal backstory, and also a high risk of depression. I have a very good relationship with death, i.e., I can talk about it without being anywhere uncomfortable. A lot of people I know don't. There's a lot of people who struggle with death as a concept. It feels very bleak. So I wanted Ruhan to have an element that would, specifically for those people in my life, you know, to not make this scary. Because I think if I wanted to be a demigod of something, the one thing to be this, I'd want to be comforting to the people who I'm taking to the next thing, whatever the next thing is. Like I want to make a very scary thing for a lot of people in life a lot less scary. And the third element is because he is a person who has attempted and, spoiler, succeeded suicide. Because one thing that happens when somebody commits suicide is that they kind of stop existing as a person and they start existing as a thing. The way we talk about suicide victims, it's often, you know, they did something selfish to me. They meant so much to me. It's all about, and to be fair, this is how we talk about the dead. A lot of funeral services are for us, those who are mourning, not for the person who has passed because they've passed, right? Whatever's happening to them is happening, even if it's nothing. It's for us. But when it comes to suicide victims, I think there's a tendency of us to really turn them into more of an element of iconography than an actual human being. And so Ruhan's like not lack of connection to gender and appearance, that's what that comes from. It's entirely he committed, his life is over. That life is done. That doesn't matter anymore. Ruhan, the dead thing that, you know, one of you saw when you look too far into their past, that isn't a person anymore. That's a thing. The thing in front of you is a thing. It's for you, not for them. Which is depressing, I know. But sometimes life is depressing, and in a world of demigods, yeah, some things are going to be hard. Some things are going to be hard to process. So yeah, sorry for like taking everyone's nice answers and saying here's some heavy shit, but Ruhan was
There's
very
nothing to
heavy
be sorry
intentionally.
about.
Yes,
Yes,
there is.
I love that. Grant,
I
Media and
also someone
oh,
one
oh,
moment,
go
so
ahead.
sorry. Rosa Tears in chat said they advise the use of the language died by suicide rather than committed. Yes, I'm intentionally using committed here. But
Interesting.
yeah, well, I'm
For
using that.
Ruhan, you're saying
Yeah,
for
for
Ruhan.
Ruhan. For Ruhan.
Okay,
Yeah.
not for everybody, but like specifically for Ruhan.
Yeah.
I think you just make Dev so much. All of y'all just with your concepts, like, damn, we're kind of guardians in that way. Not to bring up like that one Pixar film, but like we did that better. We
Mhm.
really are the guardians, not of a galaxy.
I was like, wait, which Pixar movie has Guardians?
Okay, we're gonna go to Grant. We're gonna let that. We're gonna
Oh,
let
yeah,
that
same.
marinate.
My sweet anxious boy. What's like a media? I don't think I pulled a lot of like media reference. I guess if you want to go into like his name,
Well, no, not just media. Just what
yeah. I mean,
was it
there's a
for
few
you?
things that I'm pulling the thread on with Thane. Like I knew that Norden was gonna play a death god, the death demigod from the get go, and that was an idea that I was also kind of playing around with. And so my two initial instincts were, well, Norden's already doing it, and I'm not going to try to out Norden. But then the other, so like maybe I should pick something else. But then the other half of it was like, or I could be the other side of Norden's acceptance of Death Coin and be the fear of it, because I think a lot of what's wrong and right about morality in general is a person's individual relationship with the nature of it, right? Sometimes I think everyone is afraid to die in some capacity. And that fear is going to either lead you down a road of like, let me make sure I do everything in life that I can to ensure I have a good afterlife, or it can lead you down other pathways of like make the most of my time here or make sure I'm looking out for number one and I have as much fun as possible. So I think with Thane, it was very much like I want to channel the American anxiety of it. And I think this was around the time when people were like, and I hate to bring up the evil empire here, but it was in my brain when like all those stories were going around when the president was suddenly in private kept talking about like being really concerned about going to heaven. And I'm just like, huh, you know, like so that there was like a thing there where I wanted to be like, what does the anxiety of that look like from a standpoint of someone who wants that reward, right? And I was very careful to not put like a specifically Christian spin on it, I guess, because that's my usual brand. So I just wanted it to be like what are all of the rules that a quote unquote good person has to follow, both religiously, philosophically, economically, all that stuff. And then when you walk down that rabbit hole long enough, it ends with a deeply scared and anxious person who never wants to step out of bounds or hurt anyone's feelings or be perceived as bad, to the point where it freezes them from ever making a real choice. But they know democracy, good, do democracy. So they go do that. His name is a pun on Thanatos, the god of death. And Fontaine is a philosopher who spoke often of death. So those were I keep joking that like my characters keep having their true identities and intentions hiding in their name. So like during the first 3 episodes, people kept DMing me to be like, is Thane like a god of religion? Like what's Thane's deal? And I'm like, the answer will be very clear in the finale. And also if you're paying attention to his name.
Makes sense. I will start by answering a question directed at me. In this portion that I'm going to ask each of you an individual question. And the reason being, the question is, can you talk about democracy as a character? And so, the gods, in what I understand, as the intention um of the creator, in demigods, is that gods cannot too much directly affect what's going on the mortal plane. And that's part of why they create demigods, is to have some way of like intruding on the mortal plane, but like they themselves can't walk on the mortal plane for too long without it unraveling, or without having to like give up the quote unquote divinity. And I also really like, I scoff at the idea in general of an all-powerful, omnipresent God. That's just not something I either believe in, like an overall encompassing force, which doesn't really have an opinion on what you're doing either way, or like the idea of small gods. So democracy is, in my mind, is a god, is a creation. The other thing that the creator says is that the gods are formed from like things that we question. So not things that are known, but things that there are dissenting opinions about. And so democracy is created through the differing ideas of what people have about democracy, right? Democracy is, right now we feel like it is one of the better ways to have rule of any particular institution. But it is easily, it's not infallible. Democracy is not all powerful. It is not like the answer to everything. It is not the cure all. And I think that did end up being a little bit of a disappointment to some of our demigods, and that's totally understandable, because I can relate really strongly to the feeling that you want democracy to be the answer to dealing with things. We'd like to be able to say, oh, what we're seeing, this fascism, is a breakdown of democracy. It is a democracy that is not well guarded against capitalistic influence, and like the ability. We built a democracy that is, in the US, that is very beholden to money. And so hopefully that answers a little bit about democracy as a character. I think democracy as a god, unfortunately, or I think as a god of my creation, probably believes in what I believe as to the right way to do democracy, but also doesn't have the power to move all the pieces to make it happen that way if people are going to sabotage that. But they do have a presence in bolstering the ability for people to use democracy to undo bad actors. Given that, for both Kendo and Diamond, your characters seemed indifferent towards democracy at the end. Could you talk about why that is?
I can go first. It's because this was kind of baked into the concept. Opportunity doesn't care about democracy. Opportunity doesn't care about good things happening to people. Opportunity cares about the opportunity to do what opportunity wants. They're a very neutral person, and there's potentially a world in which where like depending on like if we had a longer like if opportunity interacted with the big bad and the big bad made made a good enough pitch for why opportunity should work with him, opportunity would have, assuming that it seemed like not just a good enough pitch but that we would win if I did. And that's just who opportunity is as a person. And so yeah, that's ultimately what it came down to, is like opportunity's reaction to democracy is that, oh well, I was just here to get democracy because someone asked me to and it seemed like it would be fun. The broader everything that's happening isn't a thing that opportunity cares about as a person, which was explicitly what I was trying to explore.
And just before Diamond answers, I really love that because it's very real. There are a lot of people out there who are thinking that way, and then it stands to reason that for the people who want to use democracy, whether for quote unquote good or quote unquote bad, they have to appeal to people with the thought process like opportunity to get those people on their side. So I think that we were really enriched by having you play such a character.
Opportunity is also the one who ultimately grabs the democracy box.
True, because it seems like a good idea at the time, and everyone's like, "Hey, do it," and it was like, "Hey, sick, sure, why not?" And then it was reading
Diamond.
Rainbow.
So, Levi's pantheon is the human condition. It's the idea behind Levi's pantheon. Whenever I was coming up with the entire like idea behind, oh, I'm playing Adrenaline Rush, which is something everyone gets. Levi can be pulled to anyone's side if they need help. And it was something that I wanted to touch on of if it was one of those things in a longer campaign, I would have shown it in that Levi helping somebody who's not a good person. And it's the way that Levi is still trying to see humanity because Levi is still connected to humanity. But it was a choice based on the fact that I already used an ascendance move in the first episode, and I was the first one to do it. And it was the fact that Levi was the first out of this group to start disconnecting from humanity for the good of humanity. And whenever you become like a god in the demigod system, you don't exist physically anymore. You exist as a concept. You exist on another plane. Mortal concerns no longer concern you. And it's that thing of like Levi's consequence to basically using that ascendance move is that they're always over prepared, which comes with a reality check of like, I have been helping everyone. I can't pick and choose who I help because that's going to make me a bad god one day, where it's going to make me a bad demigod. Levi will serve in the interest of like their friends or anyone who decides like to ask him for help, but she's not going to overall besmirch what is the position of the pantheon of human instinct. As long as you're human, you have these instincts. How you interpret them is up to you, which is a lot of like how I see democracy. Because as someone who works in activism and has for the past 4 years, I've seen it weaponized against people. I've seen it morphed. I've seen it used for good at like really low levels and community levels. I've seen it used for evil, like towards me and people who are disenfranchised in the way that I am. And so it's one of those things that I wanted to show that there's no correct answer. There's no easy fix. Democracy's hard. And for a character that is a demigod of something that everyone in this world feels. If you have a thyroid, you have adrenaline in your body. Even if you don't have a thyroid, you take medication to then replace that hormone that creates it. If you have a hypothalamus, that will also give you adrenaline. It is just basic biology, but it is also the human instinct. People have been experiencing adrenaline rushes for as long as humans have existed. In theory, I'm not an archaeologist nor a biologist, but I am a nerd with Wikipedia. Um, and so, like, it's this thing of like, you've always had this fight or flight instinct. And in the case of democracy, it's knowing when to fight, it's knowing when to flee, or it's knowing when to regroup, or it's knowing when to take another turn and take another look at something, which is all Levi is. So, but I didn't want to have just an easy, like, oh yeah, I'm only fighting the bad guys. Like, Levi's one of those characters, much like Opportunity. You could convince them to go the other way. If you are convincing enough and you are spending enough time with Levi, you could convert Levi into a bad guy. I already built what that would look like. Of like, what if Levi got corrupted by whatever it is? It could be really anything, not just fascism, just anything. Because it's a human experience, and it just then changes the way that I start describing Levi and the way that they look. So.
Awesome. Abby, Yarrow is in some ways the most gentle, I think, of all these demigods, and sort of the most in tune with humanity. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Homegirl was raised by her mom. She's like, I'm in the kitchen. I call my mom. Are the rest of you okay?
And do you think, because none of our other gods were raised by their godparent, do you think that specifically being raised by her parent, who is a god, or a particularly, I mean, if she's still on Earth, possibly just a particularly powerful demigod, do you think that affected the creation and the softness and the nurturing of Yarrow?
I think Yarrow's mother, who we describe as being a very minor goddess, like she's not even a goddess of food, she's not a goddess of the harvest like Demeter is. She is the god of comfort food. It's a niche within a niche. Like, she's so minor. Like, honestly, I kind of like run with the thought of her being a particularly powerful demigod, and just, it's less about who she is and more of like what she is. Like, she was around with Yarrow. She gave her these values. She was very in tune with humanity. I think some part of her understanding, I can't make storms happen. I'm not there at the end or the beginning, but we'll be there for the middle of it. And you make the best of what you have because you are important one way or another. And now that I think of it, because Diamond mentioned ascendancy moves and things like that, Yarrow was the last to use hers. And it was still a very, like, it was a biblical proportion. She was calling a plague of frogs on people. And even that way, it's still very mundane. She's like, yeah, frogs are under the earth. I can do that. She's thinking within a very human frame of things. It's like, short answer for long question. Yeah, Yarrow's kind of the most in touch because of her who and what her mother is.
You're also really connected to animals, which is an interesting addition to Yarrow's character being a comfort food character.
So I selected the Verdant Playbook, which focuses a lot more on nature. But I decided to pull in a little of my experiences of being an urban native. I would call myself a little bit mixed because, like, I grew up both partially on my reservation and then also in larger cities, and that's where I'm spending my adult life. You see a lot of wildlife there. Like, you're not disconnected from your environment. You are still very much a part of it, even if you think you're in the middle of New York and you have a green path and that is all that you see of nature. There is still that's why I made Shani Yaji a raccoon. That is the example of an animal who has adapted to urban life.
Some might say even attempting to be domesticated.
So true. And yet, despite the attempts, she's still authentically herself. You can't change that,
Absolutely.
baby. Wee-ah-woo.
In terms of death, the god of death, there was like a little bit of conversation about it, and it took me a while to realize how I wanted to position it, because there is one way of looking at it where you could have a death of each sort of pantheon or each sort of religion. You could play a game where you have like a god of death from Egyptian mythology and a god of death from Greek mythology and a god of, so on and so forth. And then, then there are different types of death. And it became something to especially think about, having two demigods that were connected to death. And so the kind of lore that I think I came up with is that death resides in their own pantheon, and they are lonely, and they are attempting, they have so much power, being, something that everybody experiences except for like immortal jellyfish. And people, humanity having so many places to go, because the idea of there just being one destination doesn't make any sense to me. So I think of death as this very powerful, very lonely god, nobody else in their pantheon. And so the reason why there are more demigods of death than perhaps any other god is because, as these demigods use their ascendance moves and ascend, they eventually become gods. So if death seeds all of these demigods, protects them, helps them, gives them power so that they can ascend up into full godhood, and then in godhood can decide to join Death's pantheon, hopefully Death will be a little less lonely and will have not as much on their shoulders. And so that's why we end up with more than one death demigod in our sample, and so different. So Norden Ali, does Ruhan believe in an afterlife after everything that they've seen?
That's an interesting question, and not one that I think I can easily answer, because I don't think Ruhan, the person who died, did. At least, I think that they were hoping no, because the idea of continuing on was torturous, right? Which is what led to that moment, why they um, took their own life into their hands. I think Ruhan the demigod, has a bit of a different relationship. It's almost like the doors have been locked, you know? Uh there's the afterlives, and then there's Ruhan, and the two shall never really be connected again. So it's, yes, I think that version of Ruhan, the demigod version of Ruhan, believes in afterlives. They've seen enough of them. But almost in an abstract concept that they could never relate to, because that the idea of an afterlife has been locked out for them, right? Which is kind of sad, because I think if Ruhan came down to it, like really came down to it, I think they would want to be mortal and not a god. A demigod they're happy with, but not godhood.
Do you think that would make Ruhan a better god at the end of the day?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that people who don't want power are less predisposed to start using it irresponsibly. However, people who don't want power have done a lot in their lives to prevent them from getting it or understanding how it works, which means that they can use their power ineffectively or accidentally dangerously. There's no easy answer, right? I'm sorry. I'm this guy. I'm this guy who thinks about this stuff all the time.
It's
I
beautiful.
think I think what would make Ruhan a better god is if they brought back more elements of their personhood, if they fought for them a bit more, to figure out who at her core he is. Once he's figured that out, then their ability to make choices, even choices that they don't want to make or necessarily because they don't want power or whatever, they can make them more effectively and more considerately. Right now, Ruhan's so busy focused on being what everyone else needs that they've kind of forgotten they are kind of a person and need that too. And that has a lot to do with how their relationship with their domain has been constructed. Yes, not entirely her fault, but there is a choice hidden in there. There's a choice to hide from who he is and who he wanted to be, and everything, all of the opportunity that they could have had he not walked into that cave. I think once he accepts that, mourns that loss, that's what would make him a better god.
Abby, did you have
You-
something you wanted to add?
I was just gonna say, you need to keep thinking and you need to keep having beautiful thoughts and sharing them. You absolutely gorgeous human being. Look, I apologize if I say things are out of pocket. That you're just getting me without a filter because I'm on so many drugs right now to keep awake. I'm just
We
so
are
y'all
blessed.
are really good creatives.
You're
I
blessed.
love
are
cough syrup,
blessed.
Abby.
Gotta give
Um,
me that lead.
Yeah, next time I need to feel good about myself, I'll just be like, pretend cough syrup Abby is in the room.
We're gonna slip NyQuil into Abby's drinks when we need to feel good.
Guys, no, this is how the U.S. government disenfranchise people. They're
Sorry,
gonna lock up
Dayquil.
cough syrup again.
Okay, Grant.
Yo,
Is Thane meant to be Christianity specifically or all religion or something else entirely? You touched on this a little bit, but tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more.
that's a fair question to ask the Hell Whalers guy, I think, and the Bunnies and Burrows guy. Yeah, that was my hesitation with Thane initially as a concept, because like, how many times can Grant possibly go down the religious well until the joke gets stale? So I think religion plays a big part in Thane, though I don't consider him religious, if that makes sense. I think Thane's whole deal, because and we touched on it in the last episode, Thane is raised by a single parent who was abandoned by a death god. Someone who created life as a god of death and then vacated. So, and in that wake, you have, if you want to get into the metaphor of it all, you have a partner left behind who, instead of teaching the acceptance of, instead trained on the fear of. So you have this guy who's just so overly concerned with what's waiting for them after that they develop all these neuroses and literally write down every single rule on how to be a good person in a giant book that they carry around that is a literal physical burden for them. So I definitely think the religions of the world, some on purpose, some on accident, do teach that fear of death, because you do have the religions that are like, if you're a bad person and you die, then the afterlife is scary. And then you have those religions that are like, the afterlife is kind of a nebulous, unknowable thing, and that's scary. You have the folks that are like, there is no afterlife, and that is scary. So you're just trying to do like no matter where the cards land, Thane is hedging his bets. And by doing so, you have this person who's just constantly anxious and worried about what's going to happen, and like we see it, like even in the part where he gets a massage, he's like, oh my god, someone served me without, with and that's not supposed to happen, like people shouldn't have to work to live, and all this stuff. I guess really there's a portion of like what we see in a modern society where we've all become like so, I don't want to say we all, but there is a sect, right, where we are all really wanting all these open-minded, progressive, left things, and we want so much for there to be empathy and acceptance and people taken care of, that we accidentally made ourselves too afraid to step out of bounds and make mistakes. Because that's like this culture we accidentally invented for ourselves, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it has accidentally created a fear of such things. So I guess if you want a cultural touchstone for Thane, it's the good place. I think I even mentioned
Right.
that Thane is concerned about a good boy points at a certain point in the show. So, that's the thing. If everything is designed by evil, then participating in it, does it then become evil to do so? Or do we have no choice? Or should those things not be held against us? And in Thane's mind, it's like, I better just play it safe. Everything is going to be held against me.
And so you're the one guy in that episode that they visit, the one who
Right.
got high and got it 98% correct.
Exactly. Yes. that is Thane. But by virtue of playing the only demigod who isn't 100% sure of themselves, ends up being taken care of by everyone. Some of my favorite moments are like after he ascends and Levi pulls him aside, like, bro, you good? like helping him through the come down of the adrenaline rush. Opportunity literally copying him to seize another opportunity. The whole chat with Ruhan in the limousine. Yarrow cooking for him. Everyone's like, okay, this boy's been through enough emotionally. We gotta like get him through this.
He's the white boy, but he's been through it the worst.
Really?
Yeah,
Does that
and
mean white boy why? White boy,
Literally.
why do you wander? But also, like, it's almost like we made our own little pantheon in that way. Like, it's
Yeah.
almost like the divine side of us was like, hey, we need a pantheon. We kind of unconsciously did that as human beings who seek groups. I don't know. That's just me.
It does say something, though, that this
Go ahead.
very diverse group of people said, we're not going to have retribution on this white boy for being just a bit annoying. Sorry. And also
He is.
too up in their own feelings to do what he needs to do, right?
Yeah.
We're going to rehabilitate him. And then we
Yeah.
set out to say, like, you clearly been denied community support. We all understand what that means to a degree. Let us teach you, because this has got to stop. And
I think that's the nail, though. I think that's like an element, because I asked Zoop when we were putting the cast together, and she's like, I want like people like Norden and Abby and Kendo and Diamond on this cast, and I'm like, are you sure you want me on the cast? Because like I see what you're going for. Like, are you crazy? Sure. And she pointed a gun at me and said I had to. So, but like by virtue of being the white guy on the cast, I guess there was like either subconsciously or maybe like a little intentionally this undercurrent of like a person who's so plagued by guilt that maybe even white guilt plays a part in that. And that can be so isolating for like a person who wants to break out of that whole vicious cycle and then be seen as, support or an ally. But then you get too hung up in that whole thought process. So then you again freeze knowing what the right things are, but never doing what the right things are to do, So I think there is
tell me, white
a
boy,
piece of that.
why so down?
Why so down, white boy? Kendo, you
Let
are
me-
muted, my friend. Okay.
I wasn't
let
saying
me
anything
ask-
important.
Let me ask one other question for you. So I made the decision pretty quickly in the first episode that Christianity was not specifically going to be mentioned or any of the major world religions. Did that help or hinder your portrayal?
I forgot. I fully forgot. But I do know from the get-go that I didn't want to punch theology too hard with Thane. I think religion could have played a part in what Thane researched, but I didn't want him to subscribe to any one walk of faith because I didn't want that to be so heavy-handed in this character, especially because that's old hat for me. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I think it's an influence, but not a persistent one. So if you looked in rules in Thane's rule book, you would find Judaism, Christianity, Muslim, all that fun stuff. Like you would find everything that he found. Like here is a rule that someone pondered and thought about. Like here's a good boy rule, and he puts it in the book, regardless of where it came from. And then there's like stress testing that gets done. Like, are these rules actually good boy rules? So it's a lot of figuring things out with him.
And I do want to point out that again, I specifically decided, like, we had the people on the side of the street yelling. They had signs, but as soon as Thane asked, "Oh, which book is that?" I was like, "Shit," because my intention is not to point fingers at any one religion, because any religion can be responsible for where we are now. It just happens to be that Christianity right now is the flavor of the day. But I
good and
believe
bad versions of it.
yeah, there's good and bad versions of every religion. Religion is less godly and more what we there might be a god. There absolutely might be a god, but they are not responsible for the way that humans decide to interpret whatever signs are given and choose to disseminate them out into the world and use them to control other people. So I didn't want to say, oh, this is the one thing that's bad, because it's not. It's a bigger problem than that.
You and I are different in that sense, because I will make Christianity the bad guy every time.
but I don't want to make, like, that's who's on top right now.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean that
yeah.
Anybody could be on top and be just as responsible, and other people have been on top at various times and been just as responsible for problems. So I have no interest in sitting here as a Hindu agnostic and pointing fingers at anybody else and saying, no, it is your religion's fault. Because it's not about that. It's about people.
Who will say, I will fight God and I will win.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything about God. I'm talking about people. God,
I'm talking different philosophies entirely.
You can't be telling Zoop about that, because you know how many gods there are in Hinduism. There are a lot. You're not winning that fight, no matter
I'm fighting one specific god and I'm winning.
Oh, when I fight a god, it's Mika. 100%.
There you go.
So we'll quickly go through what was everyone's favorite moment, and then we'll go through what is your favorite thing about playing with each person at the table. So real quick, favorite moment. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, you've had plenty of time to think about it. Abby.
Oh, great heavens, Betsy! But
the high person go first.
I'm inebriated. Excuse you. Secondly, let's use medically proper terms, but it just keeps flashing to my mind. It was when Euro was arriving in DC, and there was a little girl looking at Shaniaji, and as Zoop voiced her, I was just like, well, maybe it's because you're very beautiful. And then Zoop just did this gremlin giggle that just stays in my brain forever.
I love the audio cue we found for Zanayaje a lot too. People told me they got jump scared by that raccoon a few times.
Diamond, what was your favorite moment?
Giving Ruhan the weapon.
Yes, that was very epic.
Giving Ruhan the weapon. Because I wanted to use a mechanic from the book that is like, do not do this. And I'm like, I'm gonna fucking do it. You can't stop me, book. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it cool.
I love Diamond's brain.
Grant, what was your favorite moment?
I wanted to piggyback on that one. Speaking of Diamond's brain, because for everyone in this party, Diamond made the most sure of themselves mechanical decisions every time. There was no humming and hawing with Diamond. They knew, like, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Here's the rule. Let's doing it. Bam. Very easy as an editor to edit Diamond. God, my favorite moment is I'm biased. I made all the moments in the edit, you know. I really love Opportunity going full like Looney Tunes in diving to get the ballot box. A lot of Opportunities are funny. I love Opportunity sitting in the limo, systematically destroying that one senator's life by just sending out nudes and horrible text messages. My favorite line that Kendo says in the whole show is that this person, Rutherford, or what the fuck was their fucking name? We could
Something
never
like that.
remember the R name, that whatever it was.
Ronald Rutherford.
Ronald Rutherford, thank you, is sending out messages that no side of the political spectrum could ever think was decent. Just like things that were so heinous that there's no one in the political sphere that would defend it. And it's very fun as a thought experiment to think of what the hell that could possibly be. Sometimes it's the notes you don't play in jazz, you know? Yeah, I'll go with that. I just love Kendo's whole portrayal of a god disguised as a dude sitting in a limousine destroying someone's life through a cell phone.
Endo, what was your favorite moment?
My favorite moment is when Ruhan summoned the army of the damned to fight fascism. I thought that was pretty great.
All the fucking World War II soldiers,
All the
kicks
World
ass.
War II soldiers coming back to kill more Nazis. I was super down for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fist pumping in that record. It's like, fuck.
Yeah, it was sick. And just like the description of it as well was just like so evocative, and like it was just a really cool moment, I think, in like the big climactic moments of the series.
And Norden Ali, what was your
God.
favorite moment?
Ooh, I have so many. That's the thing. It's very hard to narrow it down. I think one of my favorite moments was the moment Opportunity immediately recasted themselves as Ronald and decided, I'm going to get on live. I'm going to get on Instagram Live and ruin this man's fucking day. That's the reason why Ruhan joined in. It's not because Ruhan should have done that. I wanted to just be a part of that. I wanted to cameo in that moment because it was that exciting. And there was very few moments like that. But I will say it was also a really wonderful moment early on because I didn't know when I was going to reveal that Ruhan was obviously Ruhan was dead the entire time. Surprise. But I didn't know when I was going to reveal how he died. Until Grant gently took my hand and said, I don't trust this guy. I want to know more about him. And I said, oh, you do. You're welcome. That was, on one hand, there was a moment that I just really wanted to watch over and over again. And on the other hand, here's a moment that felt like it was a gift given to me. And so I'm very glad Grant did that. I love every single other moment that people said too. Getting that weapon was amazing. I felt so proud of myself for taking that silver covered star and tossing into the room and saying, go get them, Nazi killers. Like, every moment's fantastic. I do want to know what's yours though. I need to know what's yours, Soup.
What's mine? Oh shoot. We'll get back to
think
that.
about it. I'll piggyback while you think about it, because I do want to say that I always hesitate saying moments with me in them when I do favorite moments, but I do want to give Norden their flowers on one thing, because I said after our third session that one of my wishes was I want Thane and Norden to have their cousin moment, if you will, even though they're not technically cousins, but whatever. And that scene that we do together is one of my favorite things I've done in AP ever. The minute we got Norden in the cast, I was just stoked in general because I'm like a Planet Arcana fan and Norden does great in Wildsea. But I'm also just like I need these two to have another moments, and Norden like not only delivered but like added like little fun bonus stickers and like a handwritten note saying thanks for ordering, here's that package you wanted, so just one of my favorite things to do was that limo scene with Ruhan.
Okay, I thought of my favorite moment. My favorite moment was when Grant was like, "Wait, where's democracy? What are you talking about? What do you mean that democracy is in this room?" Because I was like, "Yes. Yes." I described it in a way that it just went over Grant's head.
It's not hard, I'm not smart.
No, but like I was like, because I was like thinking about how to describe this room, and I was like, okay, how do I make it so that they don't go immediately for the ballot box because they know that the ballot box is democracy? Like, how do I do this? And I'm like practicing how to say
Well,
it.
here's the
where
thing,
it doesn't
Zoop. The way
sound-
you described it only flew over my head because the
Listen,
rest of the
that's good
cast,
enough.
and I cut it, was like, Grant, are you fucking serious?
The rest of us just kind of like, what's Grant doing? Grant knows what's up, right?
It's just me on camera trying to like ballot box.
Diamond
Please.
holding my face from across the country, being like, babe, please.
Please.
Look, if I tricked one person,
It worked. You did your job.
I
Join the
did my
GMM
job.
Discord if you want to hear the entire cast dogpiling me for being a fool. Because I cut it out of the episode proper, but I made a deleted scenes channel for the GMM Discord specifically so people could hear how big of an idiot I was in that moment.
That's so funny.
Just not clicking at all in my brain.
Okay. So, how do we say our favorite things about each person? Do we choose one person to
You
Nice.
go
I'm
first,
grabbing the
and then
mic.
rest of us think about it.
huh? One person tells everybody,
Per-
or we
It's
choose one
however you
person.
want to do it, but per tradition, one person goes around the horn. Typically, the game master will go first. And since this is your first Game Master Monday mini series, everyone clap for Zoo. She says it's a great job. We that is the tradition we've done for the previous ones. You go ahead and take your time to talk about the other 5 people, and then we open for it for whoever feels moved by the spirit.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I will go down the line. So we'll start with Abby. So everything that I've seen Abby in so far, I saw her play someone truly unhinged in something that hasn't been released yet. Like just lover, but like very maniacal.
Young cries.
I've seen her play in Castaway, a couple others that I can't think, but it's always been like high energy. And it's not that Yarrow is low energy, but she is soothing and sweet and makes you feel at home and makes you feel safe. And it was so great to see you play that and know that you have this amazing range of characters and this amazing grasp on what you're doing. You bringing your background to the story is a huge blessing. The patience and the thoughtfulness with which you play, the sincerity with which you play and with which you talk, the joy, and you just really make everybody feel like the most important person when you're talking to them. And I think that's really beautiful, and I hope that you know that you are an incredibly important person.
What if I told you I was crying right now? That's really funny, actually. I've already
Just
said
as we designed it.
that.
My favorite part of the streams.
Diamond, you put so much into your character. I love that you have Levi, Levi as if they were taken down a path of quote unquote evil, if you were taken down a path of quote unquote good, the sincerity of Levi in terms of feeling that importance to be a person who helps other people. And I don't know if you meant it, but it does reveal the kind of the difficulty in being that person that always helps other people. Because sometimes at the end of it, you look back and you go, oh no, that wasn't the right person to help. But you want to help, and like, who can say that that's a bad thing? And the thoughtfulness that you put into the character and the confidence with which you walk in the world at all times is incredibly inspiring. You and I go way back, and I think I know you longer. I've known you longer than anyone else here. And we've seen some shit, and I always appreciate the way you're level-headed, the way you think about things both logically and with emotion, and the way that you hold your ground, but you also spread out your arms to bring other people in. The advocacy work that you do is just incredible, and you really just make the world a better place. Grant, I'm going to talk about you only in terms of your character, because otherwise we might be here for a long time.
You've said enough nice things about me for a lifetime, whatever.
Yeah, I know. So, Thane was so... I love the energy, the way that you could bring that nervous energy in, and yet make the scene as a whole be confident, if that makes sense. Like Thane himself is unsure, but the way that the scene is going to hit is sure. And I think that is a really important skill. You know when to lay low, you know when to bring yourself to the forefront, you know what your strengths are, you know how to play to them, you also know how to stretch yourself and become, in each chance to play, to push yourself a little bit farther. I really appreciate that, like, you're like, I still want to think about theology and religion, and like the battle that you have to do, like, in your own head to do what's right. And like at the same time said to yourself, well, I've sipped at the teat of Christianity a whole bunch for a whole bunch of shows, so I wanna go a little bit past that. And you did do that, and I think that you could bring Thane onto a talk show, run, like have you play Thane, and I could have an entire like conversation with you as Thane and me as me, where I just ask you increasingly complex questions and you would have the answers of the way Thane thinks about the things that he's uncertain about and the things that he's certain about, like this is what's good and this is what's right. I at first, everybody's use of their ascension move was amazing. And I appreciate, I'm going to take a minute and just say, like, I appreciate everyone's use of the mechanics, because I love mechanics, and you all know that. And you use the mechanics, but you also just made beautiful stories. And Grant, I'm ride or die for Grant. Kendo, it was an incredible honor to get to play with you. Opportunity was so fun. One of my favorite moments was the two of us working together to create Opportunity's new opportunity. I forget what we called his dog walking thing, but
God, I wish I could remember too.
But you looked at me and you were like, what does Opportunity see? And I had this chance to be like, okay, what would Opportunity be focusing on? What is the opportunity? And to go look at that. And that was so much fun. And I love the way that you approached the game, because it would have been very easy for you to say, okay, we're demigods. And Supriya has come with like saying that, oh, we need to save democracy. So it's important that I create a character that is ready and willing to save democracy. And you said, no, you know what? I don't need to do that. Fuck that. I'm going to make this character who is on one hand fantastical in their ability to change their face and their abilities, and yet at the same time so grounded in that there are so many people who are what you're calling selfish, like that drive to do what is right for them, and to bring that to the story was so kind and such a blessing, because I feel like you heard me say, like, I want there to be diversity in this team. And you said, I feel like you said, look, I got you. You want diversity of gender and gender expression, and you want diversity of race and religion and so on and so forth, and all of those things that we already know. And you said, but I'm gonna make sure you also get a diversity of like thought and intention, and I feel like you saw what I wanted and gave me even so much more than what I knew I wanted. And I'm so blessed to have you on the cast. And I love that, you simultaneously brought all of that, like the deep ass stuff, but also the funniest moments. And I think that that's an incredible skill. And then I have said this to Nordon Ali before, but you were the last person we contacted because I got my full list. And I made sure, I don't know where I said ass stuff, Grant. Where did I say ass stuff?
Don't let me derail this. That's why you got in the chat, you freak.
You already did. You already did.
You said nice ass stuff. Anyway, so
Okay.
Norton.
I made sure I had all my other ducks in a row. I made sure that I had my people, that I had all of their socials, that I had like the times. Like, I needed to give you all of the information because you were the get. You were someone that I had wanted to work with for like over a year. You have a presence, and I know that you don't feel the greatest about yourself, and I know what that's like. And so go ahead and hit record on this so that you can listen to it whenever you need to. But you are fantastic. You bring such depth and thoughtfulness to your characters. Ruhan gave us, an exploration of intense subject matter, but gently, so that it's not like in your face, but it's still there, so you know what it's there, but it's, how do I even explain this? Just, it is such an honor to work with you. And the scene with Sam Adams, distinct from the Sam Adams of yore, to be able to work with me together. This was our first episode, and we were able to put trust in each other to work through that scene. And I deeply appreciate it, because I think it was a tough scene for both of us. And the way that you keep dropping hints of who Ruhan is and connecting Ruhan to the other players, the way that you're thoughtful about, Ruhan got into DC, and you were immediately like, I'm gonna pierce the veil and I'm gonna get the information that you can give me. It was not a time that I would have thought to use that, but you were immediately like, I am here, tell me what I see. So you kept on challenging me to like find different ways of explaining also what is like the supernatural around you. And just, you're fantastic. This whole cast is so fantastic, and you all really made this journey of my first mini series a real joy and a real breeze. And it feels like a real win in my book, and I feel so blessed to have gotten to work with all of you. And so I leave you 5 minutes to all say nice things about each other.
We might go a smidge over, but I'll speed it for you.
Wee. Guess what? I just coughed in my shirt for most of that and cried at the same time, so it's my turn. I'm cracking my knuckles. Oh, ow, that hurt. Fuck. Alright, before I die, I'm going to start with Diamond, because Diamond is the kind of person I want to be when I grow up. I want to be someone who is in a position to help, but also just be the coolest fucking person I know. Because, like, it isn't just about being strong. It isn't just about being wild. It isn't about doing the coolest thing on screen. But it's being the person who knows and wielding that like a pen. Because like Grant said, like coming from an editor's perspective, every scene with Diamond, with Livy, it was so clean, it was so sharp, and it came through with the character. Even when she was suffering from her perfectionism, you played it so fucking perfectly. And I need more shows with Diamond in them. Put Diamond in your shows. I might be contacting you about a changeling game, bitch. Watch out. Norton, look, it's your turn now. Welcome to the game. Welcome to the game. You are such, like, the only word I can think of when I see you is soulful, because you put your whole personhood into it. Like, everything that you explored with Ruan was just so... Shit, I'm tearing up thinking about it. It's just, there's so much humanity in there, and that is only that someone who is willing to share that deepest, darkest part of themselves, and I think that's less common in AMAB folks too, because of societal bullshit. You are so fucking special. Please never change for anyone unless it is to make it your life and yourself happier. Love you, bitch. Kendo, you and your beautiful child over there. Oh my god. Kendo makes me want to be a better... Hi, kid. Kiddy. Kibby Cab. And Diamond got Kibby Cat too. Let me continue with my drug-fueled rant. Kendo, you make me want to be a better person and a better player because you show up in ways that I never see anyone else do in an actual play. It probably has to do with your amazing artistry and running award-winning series, but you just pop in and you're able to, like, you make a scene better. You're the bridge between that scene. You're more than the bridge. You are the ecosystem. You are the sandy loam that makes it possible for mangroves to take root and actually aerate and make a scene feel alive with your characters, because goddamn, you are a silly bitch. But those silly bitch scenes were plot bearing. Keep it up. Great work. I'm proud of you. Okay, wait, boy, it's your turn. Because I'm getting near to pass out. I'm gonna take another hit off my cough syrup. I'm almost at my limit for the take, but I need to stay awake. Grant, you're so fucking cool, and I want to be cool like you are. Everyone in this cast is just someone who I want to be when I'm older. Look, coming from someone whose community has also been deeply affected by the hashtag Christians, everything you did was so felt. It was very felt, but also so fucking realistic as a person with a severe anxiety disorder, because you're always worried about fucking up, and you're always like, maybe if I just follow this set rune of... Also, Tism coded, that's another star right there. Just thank you for doing that and being vulnerable in that way. That was really good. And Zoop, I didn't forget about you, bitch. I can never forget about you, you beautiful siren, you Aphrodite of the modern age. You tell stories in a way that make me want to be a better storyteller, because you make it feel alive. You, like, bring in actual I've never been to DC. I hope to never set foot in DC with the way it is right now. Maybe one day, but you made me want to go there. You talk about me being warm and friendly. You make GMing and the setting warm and friendly, even when we're fighting a Hydra. You make me feel like I can be an amazing player and not just some dumb idiot who's learning the system. You're a really good person and a really good GM, and I can't wait to see you do more. And now I'm going to take a sip because this is the honey NyQuil and it's really fucking gross. It's so
Night,
gross.
Abby. Nice to have her when we had her, you know?
Guess who pressed the wrong button to mute themselves? It was me!
I love cough syrup, Abby. I'll blitz this real quick before I get bombarded by the other three. Now the Zoop first. I know it was a lot to throw a mini series at you when you just joined the show, so thanks for doing that for my own brain healing. I was doing a lot of heavy lifting here at GMM, and adding someone of Zoop's caliber to the team is not just a way for me to get a fucking break, but also just an opportunity to make a lot of really cool shit with a really dear friend. And it's been nothing short of a joy doing this ride with you, watching you get your AP GMing feet under you, watching you develop and recruit folks for this. It's a real testament to not just your reputation that you very carefully cultivated, but your ability as a player, a game master, a colleague, a peer in the scene. I don't think I would have touched this concept of the 10-foot pole as a GM. And I think only you could have done it. And you did so in a way that gave the cast that you put together the maximum onus. It's so fun to see you as a GM want to be in there and with them and create player characters that, or excuse me, NPC characters that are in the thick of it with them because you want them to succeed so much. I think you're destined for big things in our scene. Sometimes I worry you may outgrow us, but I also get excited over the prospect of that because if Zoop is ever like, all right, I've learned enough from the white boy here. I think it's time to spread my wings and make my own show. I would listen to every single thing you do. Jesus, everyone here is so fucking cool. The first interaction I ever had with Diamond in the space was Diamond sending me cool charities to help those with their legal fees for dealing with ICE. And that's what a cool thing to do for some random person to show up in your inbox like, hello, I need help with a charity. And then to immediately come back with so much wisdom and experience, rocked. And then getting to play with Diamond just shows the way your mind operates. You are so concerned with making sure other people are set up for success, and you are also a big reason for their success as a player. You put yourself in the thick of things. You are a driver of the story. When you get your turn with the wheel, we go in a cool, new, interesting direction. I cannot tell you how many people reached out to say that Levi was their favorite, and for very good reason, because Levi as a character is both one of my favorite fucking puns we've had on Game Master Monday that absolutely rules, and we have a long history of pun names here. But also B, it just shows like the level of thought you put into that sort of thing. You can point to the chemicals, the physicality, the mentality of an adrenaline rush. And for you to center it on, I'm an adrenaline rush person who is focused on making sure you get what you're looking for, speaks to the size of your heart and the vastness of your mind. So thank you for spending time doing this goofy bullshit with us here. I've told Kendo this drunk at Gen Con, but I'll say it again. It's crazy we're friends. It's I've a person I have always looked up to in this space as one of the better storytellers, a person I have blatantly stolen from with cadences and writing and such. And now we're at a point where Kendo and I are doing too much together. In fact, we're just constantly in each other's orbits. But it's only because Kendo is always the right pick for anything anyone is ever doing. It has so many tools and tricks under their belt. Incredibly giving as not just a performer, but as a collaborator. Very willing to jump in and create the lore with you and write alongside you, both as a GM, as a player. Will never admit it because they keep shaking their head, but just someone I'm geeked to constantly be around. An Opportunity is such a quintessential Kendo character because what a weird little freak with a sinister underbelly. And I love Opportunity. I loved working with Opportunity, and I feel that Opportunity fully tricked Thane, and I thank them for it. I said it earlier, but I've always wanted to play with Norden and always wanted to work with Norden. Another person and show that I was familiar with before I even made Game Master Monday. And when Zoop was like, what if we get Norden on there? I was like, you've named the one person who does not follow me on social media from your list, so we might need to send them an email. and glad you said yes. Glad we got to do this. My flabbers are not easily gasted. But a moment that will always stick in my brain is when we were doing the limo scene and I physically got knocked back a little bit and had to think about it. And you just leaned into your mic and said, "You wanted this." And it's just one of those things where you're 3 years deep into making a podcast and you think to yourself, God, this is what this is supposed to feel like. This is what makes me love performance in the first place. So getting to do that alongside you, I don't want to say reignited a dormant part of me, but it did make a part of me that loves doing the skip a beat for a second and be pulled right back into the love of it all. Abby knows damn well she's one of my favorite players. One of the first persons I always ask when I do anything is Abby, because if there's even a slight chance I can get that feral creature into anything, I want to jump at it. Has been in a lot of GMM episodes, has been on Castaway, and now finally doing a mini series with us. And I love the choice Abby made to play someone a little bit more pulled back, a little bit more heart forward. Not that Abby doesn't do heart forward stuff, but to put so much faith and trust in this concept, to put so much of her into Yarrow, I am honored and humbled by, and I don't know. I just think Abby's one of the best in the biz. No one does it like Abby, and quite frankly, to put this group together, like literally some of the strongest performers in the scene. And I'm not going to be self-deprecating. I'm pretty good. I'm not going to be like you four and also me. Like, no, but it was one of those things where there would be moments every now and again where I'm like, I still have a lot to learn. And I learned a lot doing this series by playing with you four. So thank you for saying yes to Zoop's insane things.
Thank you, bitch.
I can go next. I'm just gonna go in Discord order. So starting off with you, Abby, one of the most sincerest, earnest, warm-hearted people I've ever fucking met, with a mouth like a sailor and a performance like it belongs in the globe.
You want me to
Peter,
walk into the ocean? I'll do it. Don't
I want
test
you to walk right into my heart the way that the I mean, no, genuinely, there was Abby, you were kind of the heart of our group. I feel the warmth of being able to like bring something as simple as comfort food and like bringing us together in the various ways of like, you know what, I'm going to start making food for everyone and giving us a space to be able to sit down and like have our characters have moments like that rather than just constantly being like, okay, we got something we have to do, so on and so forth. Like making the space for us to sit down and have conversations with each other, I think really goes so far, especially like in the like broader themes of our story, right? Having these moments of rest and moments of comfort are what is necessary in order to continue to fight and continue to move forward. And I know that you're pretty insistent on like having her not be like, oh, she's not the strongest, she's not the one who's going to be able to like fight for everything, but like a war doesn't only need soldiers, right? Medics exist, right? People who do communications exist, right? There are going to be people who need to be there to remind us that rest and comfort are important, and you were able to bring that in full force in that story, and I think was incredibly necessary in a group with as varied opinions and demographics as we were.
I'm gonna turn into a New York corn over that. Thank you very much.
An ear of corn is very specific, but I hope you turn into delicious popcorn, or a nice corn tortilla. Diamond, it was so good to finally be able to fucking play with you. Levi is so fucking cool. Honestly, possibly the coolest of us all. And I love the intention that went into making Levi, and especially those like the very specific moments of like almost like in the opposite way of I'm super forgetting names are like my worst thing, so I'm so sorry if I forget. Yara, there we go. Almost like in the opposite way of Yara, of being like, hey, okay, it's time for us to focus because there's a big thing that you're about to have to do. And like the intentionality of like having a demigod who is there to help you walk through those moments, I think is really, really interesting. And also, uh, 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 incredibly important for, again, in the fight against fascism and the rebelling against authoritarian regimes and oppressive forces, having someone to be there who can be like, yes, this is stressful, big things are about to happen, but you can do this and I'm going to be there with you to do it, ultimately shows that despite everything that's going on, the community aspect of moving through those moments and being there for each other is what gets us through. And you knocked that right out of the goddamn park. Grant, I need to start saying no to you. um that's my New Year's resolution. Start saying no to Grant, because Grant, you keep asking me to do super cool things that I enjoy, and I'm getting real fucking sick and tired of it. Actually, I want my schedule back, you asshole. But Grant, no, you have been such a joy to play with, collaborate with, and scheme with in Discord DMs, and the have we're both good people who are fans of C.S. Lewis, and will do bits about the about the screw tape letters as we're slowly falling to sleep, mere feet away from each other. But the intentionality that you bring to Thane, and you're all gonna hear me say intentionality a lot because that's a thing that I just like. So get over it. The thought process around like how Thane was going to navigate this story, and especially those ending moments, right? Of we find democracy, and now it's like, well, the war's not done. Fascism still exists. Things are still bad, and like when like being like brought to this moment of like, okay, we're ending our story. We found democracy, but Thane still being like, that can't be it. That can't be it. Like things aren't fixed. Things are still bad. I think was a very important for this story, and like having someone who is going to be so autistically interested in the details of the thing and understanding the way in which all of these systems and things interact with each other, even if they are something as neutral as democracy. Um, I think was a very valuable perspective in this story, and one that I think we would have been worse off without. Um, Norden, I sing your praises anytime and every time I get a chance. You're a fantastic performer. Always such a fucking powerhouse. I feel like I'm living in your shadow, but it's a wonderful shadow to live in because it's so warm and cozy. Because anytime I get to be a player with you, I'm just like, I need to step up my fucking game, dog. Norden is here. Fuck. But and I mean, everyone's already said it, right? Ruhan is such a fantastic character, living on that edge between his humanity and what it means to be the demigod of death. And again, another like there's this a through line between a lot of the characters, I guess, other than Opportunity and Thane, of having some. Actually, no, I think there's an aspect of Thane in this as well, of having someone be there with you to walk through a particularly poignant moment in their life, whether if it is their need for comfort, their need of getting through a stressful situation, or their need to get through death. And it is this I love your choice of making Ruhan be fluid in the way in which they present, because they present however the person needs for them to look, to help them acknowledge, understand, and accept what is happening to them. And I just absolutely beautiful, I think. Just like your soul. Soup. I called you Soup, and that's not your name. I hovered over Discord very briefly as an accident, and I saw Zoop Soup Riot, and my brain focused on Soup. Um, But Zoop, I know that this was your first time doing something like this, right? This was your first time GMing for a show, a production, with a lot of people that I think brought a lot to the table. And I think the way that you rode with it in stride says a lot about your future as a game master and your future doing things like this. You brought a very big idea to us and were able to communicate it with us in a way where everyone was able to bring out everything that they were able to, right? A game master's primary job as facilitator is to help tell a story and help the other players be able to understand that story so that they can bring their best as well. And I think that amazing job. American Demigods could not exist without you, and none of our characters, none of our performances, and none of that would exist without you as well. And so congratulations on your first full production, and I hope to many more in the future. That's what I got.
Cool. I'm gonna do it. Because we're almost mimicking our introduction like order as well, which is also kind of funny. So I'm gonna go with Zoop first. Because I have known you the longest. I'm glad you remembered that I was here first in your life. None of these other people. I am so excited that you finally got to be a GM and tell a story that you wanted to tell with people that you handpicked and people that you trusted. And you took a lot of consideration into who you wanted to tell this kind of story, because it is a difficult story to tell, and it's with a system that like could go off the rails very quickly if you add in the wrong kind of dialogue to it. And I know that you were worried about the way that once it was out in the public, like how it would be interpreted. And you trusted each of us and inviting us to the table and hearing out like what our ideas were and like workshopping with us and really making it feel like we were part of your world in like this little mini series. Like, yeah, it's only 4 episodes long, but it feels like longer. It feels like we got to tell a full story. It doesn't feel like we got cut off at the end. Like, you were able to give us a beginning, a middle, an ending, catharsis, but also then like the promise of, in a way, the story is still going because of the lives we live, but also we get to then impact the way that you go forward to continue to tell stories, because hopefully we gave you such a positive interaction in the way of being your first like official table. And you are so loved for your creativity. You are so loved for your heart and what you put into this space. I only want you to get back the positives from it. Like you said, you and I have been through it in this space as two people who just want to see people have fun and be respected. To see you now are part of a community that loves you and adores you makes my heart happy. So thank you for letting me see that part of you. And for asking if I wanted to be this at PAX. Because you had me in person. Grant. My favorite White Boy Wednesday. At least for Game Master Monday. But one, I know I've said it before, I'm going to say it again with audience members. Thank you for creating a place where Zoop could thrive. Like, as Zoop's friend to another one of Zoop's friends. Thank you for creating a place where Zoop can thrive and tell stories that says a lot about you as a person. And then that also informs like the way that I started to view you as a player. Because yeah, I didn't know who you were. I'm just like, yeah, somebody asking for resources, I can do that. That's just my job. But then it's like you intentionally were so supportive of all of us throughout the entirety of character creation, throughout the entirety of scheduling, throughout the entirety of editing. You are an amazing editor. All of the sound effects are fantastic. the way that you did the audio design in the first episode for Levi's portion is one of my favorites that I've ever heard anybody edit. Like something I'm in with it ramping up and then slowing down. Beautiful. But I love with Thane that we get to see the anxiety. We get to see the fact that he's not sure in himself. And to play a character who's insecure in some kind of way is a feat within itself, because most people are like, oh, I'm a superhero. I have no flaws. I'm fantastic. I'm going to know everything perfectly. But you played this character who desperately wanted to know how to be correct and how to be right while being so flawed. And then seeing you basically literally hit him with the book. Like, when it came to using that ascendance move was beautiful. I loved the way you described it. I loved the fluttering of pages. I loved the heaviness and weightiness of it, because it really did feel like you were channeling the weight of expectation that Thane is just constantly under as a character. So you did a beautiful job. And thank you for being a wonderful person and a lovely person to play with. And I hope we get to play again in the future. Abby, I know you're dying. I'm so sorry. Thank you for being Levi's biggest fan.
You go put me in my grave, Diamond.
I'll put you in your grave, baby. I needs to know that Abby is in fact Levi's biggest fan. Abby was the one proposing marriage before anybody else did with Levi. Because I described strong, femme, friendly, and Abby's like, mine, wife. But no, I love the fact that, one, Abby is always a hilarious person to play with. Like, this, every time I'm like, oh yes, Demigods time, it just becomes the funniest moment possible in the goofiest ways. Hearing Yippee every time we entered Discord was just a little bit of a sparkle in my life. But the way that you played Yarrow as a way to have the conversation of, it's okay to indulge in things that make you happy, because sometimes that little bit of warmth, that little bit of comfort, that little home cooked meal, that little bit of extra butter folded into something by a raccoon that is elderly, is what will get you through hardship. And it is what is going to get you through the worst times and the best times, and make the best times that much sweeter, and make the rewards like mean something at the end. The way that you described Yarrow offering to cook for everyone. It's not even as a thing of, it's Yarrow keeping busy, it's busy work. It's like, no, it's intentional. It's Yarrow is being intentional with every single step of the story and finding out who she is as a demigoddess and as someone who is actually raised by their godly parent. Levi has parents that are human, and then an aunt or uncle who is a god. And that's it. But to then have Levi see someone who is so still grounded in humanity while being so closely aligned with divinity, and still being so embodied in what she wants to do. Right now, you look like you need a donut. Right now, you look like you need a better version of an egg muffin. Right now, you look like you need a swarm of biblical plague frogs to come and whoop thine booty. Like, it has been a beautiful experience, and seeing Yarrow grow and use your ascendance moves. So thank you for playing with me, and thank you for being you.
Ew. I'll do soul fixing Yuri with you any day of the week.
I'm glad we called it like we see it. Kando. Hi. I have accosted you many times at a con telling you how much I'm proud of you and how much I enjoy seeing you online. I'm very honored and blessed to be able to play with you as a player at a table. And seeing
Same.
you play Opportunity has been a gender experience for me, I guess. It's something aligned to like seizing the moment in the best way possible and like taking that opportunity to present however is best, but also like what you wanted to do. There was other things that you could have decided to do instead of the dog walking app, but you went with like, yes, Zoop gave me this. I'm playing off of this. Here we go. We're going to bounce back and forth. It's going to make complete and total sense after the chaos. And it's going to be one of the like integral moments of who Opportunity is as a character. I know somebody said earlier the Looney Tunes moment of you getting the ballot box like as Opportunity, and the way you described all of that was just so good. And then it was the conversation between you and Zoop of what does democracy look like, and bouncing back and forth, because your character out of all of ours is the one who, when we were getting the character art done, you're like, I don't know what Opportunity looks like. Opportunity can look like anything. And then being that Opportunity is the one who got the ballot box for democracy, because democracy can look like anything. Like that was a personal, like, full circle moment for me whenever I was thinking about it, whenever I was like just doing a whole listen back. And because I remember like reading through and trying to see if I could predict how other people's characters would look based on what we knew about them so far before we got the artwork for them. And Opportunity was a shock because I didn't picture Opportunity like that, but I think that's the entire point. And like it's just you bring so much morally questionable happiness into what could have been a slime ball of a character, which is what I love. Which is what I love so much. It was just such a vibe. I cannot look at Discord on my side screen. I know there's something cursed over there.
I'm gonna take morally questionable happiness in my grave. Thank
You can have
you.
Diamond, you're so right. It's unhinged in there. Don't look at the chat.
Nope, I already looked. It's fine. Okay, and then last but certainly not least, the one I was looking forward to playing with the second most after Zoop herself, Norden. Thank you for playing off of my weirdness with Livy and letting Livy enter Ruhan's personal bubble first out of everyone. Just first out of everyone, Livy was like, hi, I need to fight this thing with you. I'm going to be up in your space so quickly right now. And you just played off of it because you were the one I was most nervous about playing with, because I've been a fan of yours forever. And I'm like, oh no, what if my character annoys them? What if my character isn't fun? What if my character isn't what they need to be? But then seeing you build out the different facets of Ruhan has been like one of my favorite experiences of re-listening to like American Demigods and telling people to listen to it, is because I love the little ways that you describe Ruhan and how they evolve over time. Like I said, my favorite moment with you was handing over that weapon. And it's just the moment of letting you describe what it turns into. Because it's just that moment of like, hey, I found this thing as a player. Mechanically, that can happen. My character is also overprepared and knows that you're the only one who fought melee last time. I want to use this rule and extrapolate it to be able to gift you something. Are you as a player okay with this? And then it ended up working out beautifully to where it didn't need to be used, but it was still purposeful. And the way that Ruhan talks with Thane in the limo, but also the way that Ruhan talks with Cassie, just in this nebulous space of, I know what the ending is. I know that no matter what, I might be the last face you see, I'm going to help you in this moment because I want to help you in your final moments before you go somewhere I can't go. I want to make sure that you're crossing over with somebody. I want to make sure that you're crossing over to the space that you belong in. I want to help you find what you have lost. I want you to belong. But you need to tell me what you need. And it's that big thing in being somebody who wants to help people. Of you can't help somebody until they know what they need, or until they're willing to ask for help, or until they're willing to show that they need help. And that moment with Thane, for me, as someone who listened back to it, it felt like that almost this entire time, Ruhan's known what Thane is, or who Thane is. And it's just kind of this like part of whoever Ruhan like was before becoming a psychopomp, then saw something in like the anxiety of what Thane was becoming, and then wanted to reach out, but it needed to be, I need you to tell me what you need. I need you to crack the glass so that I can break through it and hold your hand. I need you to open up your bubble because I can't just break through it. Because I want to be there for you when no one was there for me. Which is the whole cousins thing. Death is a very lonely pantheon. And that's my little selfish wish, is that I hope that Ruhan and Thane get to hang out sometimes. But no, you did a beautiful performance. You made me cry after the fact when I was re-listening to it a couple of times. And just the way that Ruhan's described as someone who has struggled with something similar. Like, I was in love with this character. And also the girl in the car part was like, my heart, I'm gay. Thank you. You're wonderful. I'm done now.
Time to bring us home, Norden.
Hold on. I'm trying to get past my emotions to actually convey words. This is why I don't do very internal acting, because if I do that, I get too emotional, and then I can't do anything. Hi. Let's start with our game master, because I feel like it's always important to start with the person who had to start the whole train. Because that's what you have to do, Zoop. You have to take all of these disparate people, contact them, and say, hey, this is a concept. This is a game I need to play. Here are some vague ideas for how that might happen, and you left a lot of open room for the rest of us to start populating. And that's how you end up with, like, here's a person who talks to you through death, and here's a person who, represents comfort food. How do you make those two exist in the same setting and provide them both with the same level of importance and need? And I think you did a good job. Like, Cassie was probably a very smart idea because she crossed that boundary very well. Like, Cassie was a person in need, leading to a person who, you get what I'm trying to say, right? It was smart how you weaved us all together, and you did an incredible job doing so with a very short amount of time. I think that when, that first episode where none of us interact, we're all alone. If you have maybe a favorite performer here, you might be a bit disappointed that you're not seeing them automatically, immediately, or you only saw them immediately and then you're hearing someone else. But to me, I think that properly conveys world setting for something already much larger, and gave us the opportunity to flex our muscles as our characters and show who we are outside of the very narrow focus this miniseries had to have. To that point where I feel like I played a lot of miniseries in my life. I played a lot of short shots. I played a lot of one shots. This is a character I think I could pick up again and play again. With the same set of friends and characters, with a different set of friends and characters, because they've already been established in the world. And all of them have that to that degree, which is very special. It feels like a better start than most campaigns have played in, long-term campaigns. And that's a hard thing to do. The fact that by the end, I know from behind the scenes that we were rushing a little bit, but from the perspective of the actual story, we weren't. it felt like the timing was going appropriately, no matter what our nerves are. All of that really conflates together just how hard your job was and how well you pulled it off, to the point that I don't know if you're experiencing stress or pain or anguish. I don't think a single soul could say that you were, just by the final product that came out. And yes, that has a lot to do with you, not just with segue Grant, and Grant's incredible editing. Now, I could talk a lot about your character, and I could talk a lot about how this is probably one of my favorite views on Christian trauma I've ever seen. I'm not a Christian. I do know Islam has connections to Christianity, and I do know that's my religion, for those who don't know. And I also know that we have our own nature of trauma too, some of which is similar, some of which is different. But I've seen a lot of Christian trauma. This is the first one where I think it was both contained enough that it didn't become everybody's problem, but yet open enough that it could be, so long as we consented. And I think that's why it's one of my favorites, where it felt like it was affecting Thane hard. And the reason why it affected the rest of us is because we chose to let it, and you waited for us to let it. Which, like, on a flip side to what Diamond just said about me, yes, I said, hey, open up your bubble, let me in, I will help you. But you provided the bubble. You didn't just explode upon me. You waited for me to come to you, and you approached that moment with consent. You waited for consent, which is, I think, really intelligent. It's not necessarily how every traumatized person reacts, but it allows for the story to be more than just about our individual traumas. That's a difficult thing that's a tightrope, and you balanced it very well. However, what I really want to credit you on, that's right, that wasn't the actual compliment, was the editing. I think you did an incredible job weaving this story together, making us all both important and yet part of a whole. The soundscapes we gave you a lot. We just threw a lot at you, and you said, trucks? Yeah, I got that. I can do it. It's fine. What do you mean democracy sounds like 1,001 voices? So, yes, I've got it. It's fine. I've got this. And it really shows up in the final edit. Credits you on that. I rarely get to thank an editor in person. Thank you. Now, going in reverse order, because everyone else went in forward order, and I'm going to go in reverse order. Kendemonium, Kendrick, you know how much I love playing with you. I don't think I've ever hidden that from you, and that has not changed to this day. I hope we always get to play together, forever and ever, trapped inside of a box from which neither of us can... Nope, not that. But, when we get to get cast alongside each other, approach one another, one thing that I always appreciate about you is your level of scale. That's the thing about Opportunity. Opportunity had a very high scale. They weren't contained. They were open and huge and magnificent and tempting, and that's what Opportunity should be. You played a character that both took up every single spare inch of room we had, but at the same time made sure to let us all take up energy first, so you know how much empty space there was, which is a hard thing to balance. And everyone had a different struggle, and all of you handled your struggles well, to be clear. That's the theme of this. What I love most about Opportunity is just how big they got to be. And all I wanted was for more of that. I mean, I could watch the Opportunity show for days on end. I think what I really loved is that Opportunity felt like a celebration. And I hope it was a celebration of yourself and what you are capable of. But even if it isn't, it felt like a celebration, because here's Opportunity with pomp and circumstance. Energetic and wonderful. And taking up... ruining Ronald Rutherford's entire... That still sits with me, right? It still sits with me. Diamond, I'd never played with you before. So, and I wasn't actually familiar with you before. I'm glad I got to be. So I was nervous about you too. Shock! But here's what I learned about Diamond. I learned that Diamond, as a player, will go for the throat. And only because you will explicitly tell Diamond where the throat was. The fact that you walked into that fight saying, well, this is what I do. I'm gonna fight. Was so bloody brilliant. The fact that you saw the other fighters and said, so now we're working together, was so bloody brilliant. Every single big moment you had, you took the opportunity to toss part of that big moment to someone else to make it even grander. And that's an incredible level of knowing where your space is and how to operate space that I think very few portrayers have, like, right at the get-go. That takes a lot of work to achieve. And I really appreciated that about you. About Levi, I just appreciated the energy levels and like, it felt like you could induce adrenaline in someone. You leaned in, your voice leaned in, your energy levels leaned in to pull that adrenaline out of someone else so they can lean in too. And that was really impressive. It makes me wonder what Levi is like more on a solo mission, right? I wonder what Levi is like when they're dealing with gods and not just demigods and mortals. It makes me ask more questions, and I love asking questions because that means I don't know answers, and I love learning answers. So that's, I think, my favorite part of Levi, that there is so much more to explore and yet so much on the table to begin with. They're a very developed character, and I want to see more of them. Abby, I know that you are sick goose and ill and tired. Let this provide energy to you. Abby, I think you did what was hardest to do amongst us, and that was be small. And that seems weird, right? Because you're a demigod, and also being small is usually considered as a negative thing, but it's not. You brought focus and you brought intention into the room, and being small allowed us all to turn to you, take a beat, and process what was happening. If all of us were as energetic as, the most of us were, we would have entered a very different room. And that moment with Cassie would have stood out right at the third, they all blend together in my head. In the later half of the show, it wouldn't have stood out as much as it did because you showed up to a dragon with the pie. And that was so smart. It both conveyed, I don't fight, right? Which is good because not all of our gods do in the real world. But I don't fight. However, I can still aid. Only aid with sleepy time medicine. How very ironic. Abby, I was familiar with you before this, but I've never played with you before, and I want to more. And that says something. I think that I can say that about all of you. I want to play with all of you again one day. But to put this on a fine point, I think one thing I really liked about your Yarrow is just how much Yarrow encouraged us to think about ourselves. Because Yarrow hits pause buttons. Yarrow comforts. And at the same time, Yarrow is so fully fledged that you could just listen to them talk and be comforted by that. Lastly, to all of you, all of you are going to get one together. I'm very proud of you all because this is a tricky topic, and democracy isn't always the democracy we want it to be. So saving it was always going to be a bit. That last conversation really got to me because it was that moment where we could have just said, and we're done, yay! And we chose instead to say, but this doesn't necessarily clear everything. The problem isn't solved. And it was that moment where I realized, oh, all of these people, as people, are bigger thinkers than they give themselves credit for. All of these people know just how difficult a topic this is. All of these people came here not only to play, but to think. And I love to see that in other people. And I love to be that myself. And I love it when people bring it out of me. I would love to play with you all again. I said that. But I would also just love to talk with all of you again. Thank you for being a great part of the past year.
Also, guess what? Judge, get him. Charge him. That's manslaughter on 5 counts right there. Get him.
7,000 pigeons. Eat this man.
I adore all of you, seriously.
Well, I guess that's everything. Zoop, we did it. We saved the country. We've banded together. We went to Shawarma.
And we met some friends that can help us along the way.
But I mean, for better or for worse, that does close the book on this miniseries.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the series, for watching this little Q&A, and I hope that you check out each and every one of these people in all of the various places they are. I think we end with that, right?
Yeah, I know we always come into these saying, yeah, a little 90-minute Q&A, we'll ask some questions, we'll do the whole thing. And then sometimes you get overwhelmed with emotion for your friends and you have to do that for an hour and a half. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this by saying where everyone can find everyone. Zoop and I are here.
Yeah.
Zoop and I are here at Game Master Monday. If I can do a few little promos for what the channel's doing, and then I'll pass the buck to Zoop. Hey, this Wednesday we're continuing another miniseries called In the Bleak Midwinter: Tales from Gast. Been doing 4 solo Let's Plays in partnership with our pals over at Hatched Games. This week is it's me. Shit.
Mhm.
This week's episode is me. I'm playing a game called Tanned Fae by Kat the Lore Mistress. It's about teeth.
Yeah.
It's a horror game.
Trigger warning, teeth.
It's going to be pictures of teeth on it.
What?
And then,
Ridiculous.
I did a weird thing. And then next week, we're going to have Forever GM Justin from our pals over at Roll D5 playing Children of Heaven by Eskaya J. I hear it's a bummer. So if you want to really just wreck your Christmas Eve, come on down next week. And then once that wraps, Castaway is coming back. We'll be live with Castaway, The Tundra, our charity miniseries where we do Survivor, but the players can die. I've been talking about it a lot. You'll hear an ad for it on Monday, whatever. I don't want to rattle off the names, but they're good ones. That's going to be starting on January 7th. We're raising funds for Feeding America to help out that great organization who's donating time and meals and finances to local food banks. Some of our players are also contributing to that. They're going to match whatever we raise to donate to their own local food banks. And we have a few Canadians on that cast who are going to try and raise funds for whatever you donate to them to help in their own way for Canadian causes. So a lot of charity things happening, weekly raffles, all that fun stuff, and somebody will outlive everyone else. It's going to be awesome. And then if you are more of a podcast person, which I have to assume you might be because you listen to a 2.5 hour live stream about a podcast, we do that every 2 weeks. New one shot, new cast every episode. Yuletide Combat Family is happening on Monday, and then you get a month of soup flavored games from that one from Zoop. So come on by. We do cool shit. Zoop, any personal projects you want to plug?
You can check out zoopmachine.card.co for stuff that I'm doing, but Convention Zero coming sometime in, I think, April. You should be there. Abby, where can we find you?
Oh shit. I don't have any project right on my mind. Look, I gotta be so real, the beds are really hitting. But you can find me at Enough of Abby on the internet. I do stuff with cool people like this, and you should really check out their projects. Hug on there.
Diamond, where can we find you?
Hi, I'm Madison. We've been well acquainted now. You can call me Diamond. I use they, she pronouns, and you can find me everywhere at Madness Diamond on all the social medias that matter. If it's not there, I probably don't think that one matters. I'm bad at social media, though, so you might just see pictures of my cat. But I'm currently in the pre-recording stage for a lot of projects I'm going to be on next year. This was probably my last project to wrap up the end of the year, actually, which is pretty fun. But you can message me if you would like me to be on one of your projects. If you're interested in possibly playing a weird little game with me next year for a passion project of mine, then if you're comfortable with some PvP and some heavy content warnings and playing in my world by my rules as your master, Dire RPG might be the game for you and playing in my world of Dordan. I'm doing a passion project of getting enough people around to build out somewhere between 5 to 10 fictional tables who have all been through Die, where some of them don't make it and some of them do, to head up to a bigger project that will be announced next year. But If you enjoy listening to me in podcast format, you can check out the Everbright Archive, a TTRPG actual play anthology podcast run by Sphinx Akasha, the current champion of bards, where myself, Brittany Ursa, and Bardic Sweet Tea all vie for that lovely, lovely title, because he titled himself. So, it's up for grabs. Where each of us will take a turn as a storyteller. Sphinx is currently up running The Last Story, which is a fabulous Ultimate game, where I play Lysandra Agni, who is Misfortune's Flame, who is not an arsonist. Not an arsonist. Plays with fire dancer, not an arsonist, but is a necromancer with a hellhound. So, yeah. But that's everywhere you can find me. I do a lot of stuff in the space. I'm an admin. If you need help resurrecting your channel post-holiday season, message me in January. I can see what I can do. I have a sliding scale rate based on how much work it will be. And I've done it with several channels because I believe that everyone needs a little bit of spreadsheet work for accessibility purposes, and I've built at least 7 of them that have proven to work. So that's all for me.
Kendo, where can we find you?
Hey everybody, you can find me everywhere on the internet that matters at Kendo Makes Films. If you go somewhere and you can't find me, guess what? That place don't matter that much. Find a better place. And if you're looking for any of my actual play stuff, you can find that over at Tales Yet Told, where you can listen to it wherever you get your podcast. You can find it everywhere on the internet that matters at Tales Yet Told, Blue Sky at TalesYetTold.com, and would you look at that? That website also works, so you can find everything that you could possibly want to know about our show that explores the intersection of queerness and horror using indie TTRPGs. We just finished we just finished Blood in the Snow, our gothic horror vampire monster hunter series that was ran by my good friend Oleander, that also has Fabian and Josephine from Bad House RPG. It's a good old time. We're playing Hunt by Gila RPGs, or Spencer Campbell if you know him by that name, and well, it was a good ass time, and you can go listen to all of it. It's 4 episodes. Each episode is about under an hour, so super easy listening. If you listen to all of this, you could get through 2 episodes, if not more, of that show. And coming next week, just after Christmas, I have to decide if I want to put it out on Christmas Day or the day after Christmas. There's an episode of This Game Takes Place in Your Hometown with me and my good friend Marceline, an OG over at Tales Yet Told, telling possibly the most harrowing story I've ever told about having to interact with your childhood friend who you definitely know fell down the alt-right pipeline and might be a soldier who's actively being a part of a military occupation of the hometown that you grew up in. And hey, it's going to hit hard this holiday season.
Hey,
So be on the-
can you
Yeah.
lighten the
Really
fuck
frightening.
up?
It's like,
Absolutely
whoa.
not. Hey, I need you to know, I thought that the episode was going to be hard to play through before we played through it. And then afterwards, it was like, oh, okay, this is great. And it all takes place in the Sublime, just where it should. So I'll see you on the other side of the world where everyone has a place.
Awesome. Norden, Ali, where do we find you?
Of course, you can find me in my house because I'm in my house.
Perfect.
Uh,
I'll be
okay.
down there soon.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way.
This is really kind of the end of the year for me, so we're mostly winding down. But I'll give you some of the brief notes. Werewolf Feels on all socials. I'm really the most active on Blue Sky, followed by Instagram, followed by Threads. Mostly the last 2 against my will, so focus on Blue Sky. Anyway, I'm not great at socials either. Sometimes I'm quiet, sometimes I talk too much. But if you follow me there, you'll find out what projects I'm in. A book has just been released called How to GM Romance that you can pre-order. The link's on my socials. I wrote an essay called What Does It Tend to, parentheses, pretend to, close parentheses, fall in love. I wrote this during a very hard time in my life, so I was going to write something very different. And then I was like, I don't want to talk too much about emotions. What do I want to do instead? Oh, right. People are afraid of acting. Let me teach them what I know about acting as best as I can. So that's what the essay is. It's not really an essay so much as it's a resource to try and get you thinking about what it takes to act, and especially act in love. If you think you'll find use out of that, you as a GM, you as a player, feel free to pick up the book. The PDF's already out. The printed versions will be coming shortly. Tomorrow will be on Praxagor Thesmophoria's channel, playing The Witcher TTRPG, specifically as another mage, because I did randomly roll, and I ended up on mage again, and here we are. Life is telling me something. Regardless, he's a bit of a dick, but he has an even worse sister. And that's exactly the kind of energy that we're looking for. It's just a one-shot, boldly collecting money for the Fisher House. That's it for the year. That's all you can find me in, other than at work, because I work on Christmas. Other than that, next year I'll be playing The Witcher back on Wandering DM's channel with my friends, doing our Season 2. There's also something I'm specially planning with Bad House. That's been actually, I think, about 3 years in the making. I was originally going to be guest starring on a show they had. That didn't work out because of scheduling, and we've been waiting for this moment ever since. I'll be storytelling something with a friend of mine, and I can't tell you more about it. There's also a ton of stuff that I'm doing that is either so early in the planning stages it's not worth talking about, or indeed under a mountain of NDAs. So follow me on socials if you want to learn about them, because I can only talk about them when I can, and today is not that day. Other than that, have a happy holiday season. Spend time with family if that's a thing you do, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah.
Whew.
That was a lot.
I love all of you, and I'm glad we did
Crisis.
this.
Thank you to all of you. Hope to play in games with you all again. If you want to be my DM, that's totally cool with me. Or maybe I'll invite you to play another game with me. But yeah. And thank you, audience. Sorry, I forgot you were here for a second.
Oh crap! We were emotional out in the open and everything. Ugh.
Everyone saw everything.
Every part.
All right, Jenny, take us away.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.